Well, in a crazy turn of events, after Amazon Games originally announced canceling the Lord of the Rings MMO, they are now re-announcing that it is back in development. Amazon Games and Embracer Group, through its wholly owned subsidiary Middle-earth Enterprises, part of the operative group Free Mode, today announced that they have reached an agreement for Amazon Games to develop and publish a new massive multiplayer online game based on The Lord of the Rings. So this is going to be really exciting and concerning for some, obviously, because this was the MMO that Amazon was originally hyping up like crazy and people were super excited about while they were simultaneously developing New World, and everybody thought New World was just this going to be this base project foundation for setting the groundwork for the Lord of the Rings title and would eventually be left by the wayside as a result. Well, some of those concerns are probably going to come back for people, as people are now going to wonder what is going to happen to New World, what's happening to its future development. Are all the resources going to be funneled into this new Lord of the Rings title? What's the Lord of the Rings title going to look like? Is it going to copy a lot of things from New World? Is it going to truly feel fresh? We'll have to wait and see with more details. The upcoming game will be an open world MMO adventure in a persistent world set in Middle-earth, featuring the beloved stories of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings literary trilogy. The game is in early stages of production, with Amazon Games Orange County, makers of the popular open world MMO game New World, leading development. Amazon Games will publish the game globally for PC and consoles. Additional details, including launch timing, years, will be shared at a later date. So it looks like the game is looking to be a persistent open world like New World is, right? So New World is a persistent open world where there's no instancing within the world itself outside of dungeons. So everywhere you go in the world, there's no loading screens, and you're not going to see like phasing and layering, which maybe they'll do. But in this situation, based on what happened with New World, it would be a world where everybody is existing in the same environment at the same time, which has a lot of limitations. So expect server population sizes to be on the smaller side if they do not look to utilize layering and phasing as part of this development. Now, they also say here the original developers of New World are the ones leading the way for the development of this. So we may see some design crossover in terms of the development process. Definitely going to have that team take their pre-existing knowledge and experience with developing New World and incorporate that into developing the Lord of the Rings MMO, and hopefully that will lead to a better title on release for them. The concerns I imagine people are having is that there are a lot of people that aren't happy with how New World turned out or how the development of New World shifted at random intervals, and I'm sure people will be worried about those same things happening with the Lord of the Rings title as well as what does this mean for the current development of New World? Is the development team diminishing? Is it going to be smaller? Are they splitting it in half? How many people from the studio that are working on New World are now going to be working on this? Are they hiring more people? What's the situation? I'm sure people will be concerned about the future of New World now, and we know whether or not it's going to get left by the wayside and will be just the leftover byproduct of them preparing to make the Lord of the Rings title, which is a possibility of what could happen, particularly if the Lord of the Rings title ends up being vastly superior to New World in every way. We'll have to wait and see. Go on to state, we're committed to bringing players high-quality games, whether through original IPs or long-beloved ones like The Lord of the Rings, said Christoph Hartmann, VP of Amazon Games. Bringing players a fresh take on The Lord of the Rings has long been an aspiration for our team, and we're honored and grateful that Middle-earth Enterprises is entrusting us with this iconic world. We're also pleased to be expanding our relationship with Embracer Group following our Tomb Raider deal last year, as they've proven to be excellent collaborators. The world of Middle-earth continues to prove an endlessly fertile ground for creators, and Amazon Games has a passion for building immersive, compelling worlds and publishing games for a global audience, said Lee Wincard, CEO of Free Mode. So, bringing a fresh take on Lord of the Rings can be a very difficult task, as you are going to have a lot of die-hard lore fanboys that are going to look to scrutinize and nitpick every element that you implement with developing this world. It's good to bring a fresh experience into the Lord of the Rings world for people who maybe haven't experienced it yet, you know, because the Lord of the Rings movies and books were such a long time ago for a lot of people, outside of The Hobbit being like the newest trilogy series that was released movie wise. But for a lot of people in the upcoming generation, Lord of the Rings is a bit of an older element for them, and it wasn't as prevalent in their growing up as it was for people like me. And so there's going to be a lot of people looking to attack any changes that they do that aren't canonically in line with whatever was in the books or the movies. And so you got to be careful here that you want to be able to make some changes and have there be like some, you know, small elements that you have brought in as a fresh take on the Lord of the Rings, but you don't want to just completely disregard the original works in that regard. And I don't think that's the goal here at all for them either, but I know that that's something a lot of people are going to be concerned about. The main concern I imagine most people have is that it won't feel like Lord of the Rings. They're not going to feel like they're in Lord of the Rings. You know, you want to make sure that the world is as accurate as possible, that the interactions are as accurate as possible, the various different races and the nuances between them will be as accurate as possible. You know, that type of stuff a lot of people are going to care about. So we'll have to see how a lot of that stuff shapes up over time. We have the clear ambition to create the highest quality entertainment products for this IP, whether we utilize internal resources or team up with best industry partners that complement our capabilities. We're taking every care to deliver an MMO which will do justice to the expansive Middle-earth universe and delight players around the world. The as yet untitled Lord of the Rings game continues Amazon Games' growing momentum in game publishing and development following the success of its internally developed MMO, New World, and action RPG Lost Ark from Smilegate, both of which have topped Steam and Twitch charts and continue to nurture strong player communities. Amazon has also announced publishing agreements with NCSoft for Throne and Liberty, Bandai Namco Online for Blue Protocol, Crystal Dynamics for the next Tomb Raider game, and Glowmade and Disruptive Games for the unannounced titles. So, separately, Amazon Studios produces the hit series The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which had a lot of mixed feelings from people. There were some people who really liked it, some people who really didn't like it. And so I imagine the, you know, announcement for this Lord of the Rings title is going to have that same result. You have a lot of people who are going to be really excited for it, and a lot of people who are looking to absolutely attack and scrutinize it every which way they can. Keep in mind, they're just now re-announcing the development of this. It's early development. Do not expect to see anything on this game for years. Like, we're looking at potentially like, you know, a 2030 release type thing. Right? You know, MMOs take a lot of time to develop. They are a very long process to make, and they don't just get pumped out willy-nilly over, you know, 1 to 2 years. So depending on how much they, you know, reuse from New World, from their development team, in terms of like how much carryover in the design or aspects and elements that they're looking to use from New World to the Lord of the Rings title, will definitely have an impact on what we, you know, how quickly they get it developed. But expect, you know, minimum, you know, another 5 years probably from this, you know, 2028 at the earliest type thing. But, you know, this title's not going to be launching anytime soon. And I know there's definitely going to be a lot of talks and discussion about it with what people have. There have already been people on Twitter raging and flaming and saying they'll never touch this game. They'll never touch another game made by Amazon. They're worried about monetization, which, you know, in terms of New World, which is Amazon's only self-developed game, not a title that they're publishing from another region, from another region's monetization. New World's been pretty fairly monetized overall, but you know, people will be people on the internet. So we'll have to wait and see what they actually reveal over time, but the MMO is now back in action to be developed, so that's exciting no matter how you look at it. Another MMO, and one based on Lord of the Rings, with the last MMO for Lord of the Rings being Lord of the Rings Online way back. It's a classic for people in terms of MMOs, but it's still running to this day as well, so definitely check out Lord of the Rings Online. It's a pretty solid old classic MMO. that does a lot of really cool things. It's just, for many people, really dated. But, you know, fortunately, there's a lot that can come out of this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do develop and release overall. But it's nice to know that it is not a lost cause like everyone originally thought. But that's going to be all for now, everyone. Thank you so much. If you enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.